Hello, everyone, and welcome. I was trying to unmute the button, and first I was like, oh, my phone, so I had to switch off my phone and unmute. But welcome, everyone, to day 3. I'm very excited about today. I mean, the last 2 days have been such a blast. If you have been participating, maybe some, all are amazing in their own way. And what I love a lot is also when I have new guests. And this is a moment where I will introduce a new guest, which I really like. So welcome, Sarah. It is so good to see you.
Hello, Sigrid. It's so good to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
And do you want to start with sharing with the audience who you are and what it is you do on the planet?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you and meet new faces. I'm Sarah Poet, and I have been walking this reunification journey. Like, what is feminine? What is masculine? And what does that look like as a modern woman? What does that look like practically, spiritually, all of the above? And as I was walking that path, I was led out of a career in education where I was a school principal and school creator. I liked hearing your story yesterday, Sigrid, about being a social worker. So we have these awakenings, these sacred rememberings, and then we walk toward the truth of who we are. And so I was guided to start my practice called Embodied Breath. And I have really developed all of these tools for women on a similar journey, as we are waking up to the truth of who we are, as we are waking up to the fact that the feminine has been suppressed. And oh my gosh, what even is the masculine and what is the healthy masculine, and going through that journey. And I also really focused along the way on women's resources and women's energy and how depleted women often are, through work, through relationships, through all of the multiple roles that we play. And so have a lot of tools for women around what are my most valuable resources, and really coming back into a sovereignty that we haven't had really on this planet yet, or for a very, very long time. And so we want to come back into energetic sovereignty, resource sovereignty, sexual sovereignty, all of that, and really aligning to that on this path of becoming new, becoming this new human, awakening, and all of that, because it is, our energy and our source connection, which, by the way, is a very unified connection, right? So as we're realizing this on this feminine and masculine reunification path, the whole thing is reunified through feminine and masculine energetics, really, ultimately. And so as we're traversing this journey and reunifying with source, reunifying with the truth of who we are, and coming into what I call a sacred and sovereign architecture of who we are, and we're standing in that truth, then we're able to relate differently. We're able to have more powerful relationships. We're able to be more powerful in, our offerings in the world, and why we came, and our soul's expression, and all of that. And so, I run a bit of a gamut in what I do, working with women. I do private sessions. I do couples coaching. So if there is a couple, regardless of gender, who really wants to look at those energetic exchange dynamics, be it feminine, masculine, in order to come into a more sovereign, sacred union, I serve in that capacity as well. I also serve businesses. I go where the invitations lead, so to speak. And so following my human design, I go where I'm called.
So exciting, though. I so love it. I also have a lot of different things I love. And so we're not this one, that used to be, we had one life, one little thing, and we would do it forever, and then we would die. Now it's you can have so many lives in this one beautiful physical life. And that is very exciting.
It's so true. And I love the theme here of the new human, because I feel like I have just been birthed. I mean, every day I'm being birthed into a new version, into new energies. And it's so exciting. And it's a little a butterfly coming out of a chrysalis. It's like, oh, we haven't been here before. And so I love that you're really, normalizing that we're continually becoming new in the expressions of who we are. Yeah.
And when we met right before, I said like, okay, we like masculine, feminine. And then you said, well, actually yesterday, I'm like, oh, wow, let's talk about that. That sounds pretty exciting about the womb. So can you share a little bit more about just what came to you? Just because it's exciting. I know everyone thinks it's exciting.
Right. Yeah. So I'll jump in and then we can backtrack as needed.
Yes.
And of course, anyone is welcome to ask questions about the feminine and masculine path. But that path is just a path of discovery. This is why I say sacred remembering. I have a podcast by that title, because it's like, we have all these stories to share, and this continual remembering of who we are, because we were really planted here with all of this information inside of us that we're trying to get or know. It's activating inside of us. And so it's kind of funny, because I have been the feminine masculine, lady for a long time. But what has really the activation and experience that I have been really personally living in the last year and a half has been around the sovereign womb energy, which is taking the feminine to a whole new level, welcoming Holy Mother back and correcting the reversals that have been in place with feminine and masculine. And then the Holy Christos, the Holy Father, joins with that sovereign womb. And so, I was living it. I was going through my processes as a woman, reclaiming, becoming more sovereign in these different areas. And I've had 2 events, pardon me, 2 events around the sovereign womb. But I invited all my friends, and thank goodness, because they're amazing friends, women in collectives and community. We were really doing wonderful things. But it's so funny, because I really feel, my soul and spirit saying, like, you've got to talk about the sovereign womb. You've got to do this. And so, yes, I think today we'll do an activation, but it's very participatory, the way that I lead these activations. And so diving in further to the sovereign womb, it was not my plan or path to talk about the womb. In my feminine masculine reclamation journey, I didn't really go far into the goddess culture of, where everything is like very fluid and very feminine. My soul pretty much kept me on track the whole time of, no, this is a reunification journey, and we're talking about feminine and masculine. And so I stayed on track with that. And so I wasn't really talking about the womb, like it felt very like extreme feminine to me, or something like that. I have birthed 2 children, so I have massive respect for the womb. But, as we reclaim the feminine, we're doing this regardless of gender. I hope men are doing it too. But we're reclaiming the feminine. And oftentimes, I would say maybe all the time, what women will experience is hardship, or like unexplained difficulty, or, why am I trying all of the right things and still feel depleted? Why am I trying all of the right things and my business still isn't taking off? It's like, yes, we need to align. Yes, we need to, clear the field and all of that. But what I discovered was that there was a hijack, a taking of energy that was kind of plugged into me that I didn't know was there, around, my life force as a woman, and like what was coming to me. And so it seemed as though it was this very strange phenomenon. Like when I would enter into a relationship with a very well-intended man, often, I could see his soul history. I knew we had, good work to do together, that kind of thing. And it was like something kind of like got into him, or something, would come into the relationship even, or like the space energetically. And then, twice my soul instructed me, he doesn't enter your body anymore. Okay. Something is in the room. Something else is in the room. He doesn't, like, no more entry. Right. And so my body was working on this sacred womb sovereignty. My soul knew that I had these codes, that I was meant for this. And when a distortion would enter the energetic field, there was a very clear directive that was like, no more. Right. And so here my soul path is like, our souls are always up to more than we even know, way more than we even know. And so here I was on this path, and we want to reclaim the feminine. We want to receive. We want to be in soul union. We want all of these things. And then sometimes there's like these strange and insidious, interruptions or preventions to that. And that's one example of how this can express. But the truth and reality of it is that the feminine networks, in the earth grid, in the female body, in the womb, and we can talk about the womb energetically, we can talk about it metaphorically, we can talk about it in our bodies, we can talk about it in the earth, right? It's like everywhere. It's this holy mother energy. And the truth is that has been, I would say, energetically siphoned. Like the life force of the feminine itself has been energetically siphoned very systematically over time. And we're all just like, we're waking up to it, thank goodness. And it's like we were participating in this program that was really quite enslaving, to the feminine and to the feminine energetics. So, it's like on my awakening journey, I was like, okay, I get this feminine masculine thing, but like, why did the patriarchy even exist? Like, what are we doing here? And then the answers get really, really big. It's sort of like galactic answers.
What were the answers?
What were the answers? There's all of this, galactic, spiritual warfare, and fighting for access to the planet, and really, like, how valuable is the womb? How valuable is the womb of creation?
Well, it's birthing, right?
It is the space and the home of creation. And so, we've all heard that if we even knew how powerful the womb space was, or the space of creation, women wouldn't have like empowerment issues, right? But it's been this entire system that was meant to disempower. And I guess what my soul wants to bring forward here is that there was like energetic and systematic disempowering. And so it's very exciting because we can begin to really work with our personal sovereignty and get our energetic architecture sovereign, and get our wombs sovereign. And so with women, very practically, this begins to look like, what are you giving your energy to? What are you giving your life force to? Does it feel good? We like to talk about boundaries, but I more so look at it as clarity. Like, what do you know? When you're standing in the truth of who you are, what do you know? That's your clarity, that's your boundary. And so we start to amass more of our own energy, more of our own life force, as it's not like we have to fight for it. Because I fought, I was like a fighter because I couldn't figure out what was happening. And my whole life I was like scrappy, I'm kind of like covered in black floral tattoos because I was like, this badass that was sort of like fighting against something, but I didn't know what I was fighting against, right? And we don't need to fight, like we don't need to take on that, like it's really a wounded masculine energetic of fighting and defending, right? The sovereignty is aligning to the source truth of who we are and standing in that truth. And it's very energetically different. if we're fighting and defending, we're often leaving our own energetic field very open and vulnerable. And, we still have victimizer stuff going on. Not that we all don't have that a little bit somewhere. But, we're porous. Like we're more porous if we're in the fighting and defending. And I'll just kind of go into the root of that is fear. It's a fear program, right? So when we feel like I'm not going to be okay, I'm not going to be safe here, I'm not going to be safe here with this man, or I'm not going to have the resources that I need, or, the fear programs that we've all lived, I've lived it for sure. Those actually hook us into energetic agreements that are inherently depleting. So if I have a fear that what I'm doing is not enough, then I'm going to work harder. And then does that benefit me or my creations? No. And so you have to kind of ask, well, like, what does that benefit? Where does that energy go? And that energy is often, taken, siphoned, put into essentially a false grid system and harvested and then used for other things. And so it's super fascinating to realize that. And I'm naming it very specifically so we can all go, what? And then, take it back. Again, not fighting, but by standing in the sovereign truth of who we are and fortifying that architecture.
I love it. I also love it a lot where they called it for me, like, I think this year or last year, the multidimensional womb. The starlights came in and started to create through that. And they were very specific also. And I had someone else on who also said, so I love it how so much of this is now coming in and we really grasp what it is. And so when you talk about, because I think that is something we have not been talking about here before, which is I'm working so hard. So there is something happening. I have fear, or I'm not in flow. I'm not there. I'm actually doing this other thing. If I do that, it's not just feeling wrong to me. Like it's also actually feeding something bigger I do not want to feed. So it's like, now it suddenly is not only about how I feel, because people, like when we say, but it's about aligning yourself and standing in your light, and that is enough. Everyone is like, no, I should do more. And then it's like, but if you would do that, we start all doing that, what starts to happen is different grid starts to be activated instead of the old, right? Can you share more about that?
Yes, absolutely. What arises there is that we have to mean it. I'm not advocating for spiritual bypassing or like love and light bypassing, because goodness knows I have, had to transmute a lot of shadow. I'm a polarity integrator. And so my lineage, like it's astounding. I won't go into it, but my lineage, I actually incarnated with quite a history of, things that needed to be corrected, right, through the lineage. And so it's like, well, I have to look at that. That's all in me, right? But so there's not like blame, pointing fingers, victimization, like none of that helps. And, going back to like, we're not spiritually bypassing, because when I say standing in the truth of who we are continually claiming that, and claiming that with more of our own life force and more of our own power, the more and more and more we regain and the more we realize. And so, it's like the difference between maybe you have a meditation today where you're like, I'm tired, I'd like to feel better, guides and allies, please help me feel better. That kind of like, it's a little bit passive versus I claim the full truth of who I am. I am standing in this truth. I demand a sovereign field, and anything that's siphoning my energy from within my field does not have permission to be here. I clear and transmute all contracts previously made. So we mean it.
Yeah, but it's like people, like, I don't like that at all, like spiritual fluff. I'm not like a fan of that at all, because I'm way too practical. I come from a farm, no. And so it's like, who are you? Like, Okay,
Mhm.
I want this, I want love and light, but then the first thing with your husband, you're like fighting. Okay, really? I want prosperity. Oh, really? When the first bill comes in, now we go into, it's like, how can you be in this
Yeah,
in life?
right,
And I
right.
think still a lot of people do not understand that it's about moving in this energy in life, being it. Like, and that is where you can feel the power, because you will see the reflections changing in your life.
Absolutely. And this is where the path of unification just makes a lot of sense for me. I know it's not for everyone, but probably if people are listening to this, they saw the words reunification and feminine masculine. And so you're on some kind of similar path of inquiry about what these two are. And so this is, it's very wonderful. It's very long and ongoing, this path of discovery. But you have both feminine and masculine inside of you. And so it's those places where we are angry at the other or projecting something onto the other. Like, well, I wanted this person to show up for me in this way. That's a direct opportunity to integrate, right? So integrating feminine and masculine and working with the archetypes of like, what did we, hope for? What were the disappointments? What are the fears? Right? What are the longings? And then working that out within you and also in your relationship to the sacred, whether you call that God, I say Christos Sophia, I say Godhead, Mother, Father, God, all of that. But for me, the reunification is inside the Godhead. I was really, it was wonderful to hear Raquel yesterday. Raquel, am I saying that correctly? Talk about the regenerative energy of the tri-wave. And so when we're coming out of the bi-wave, the fear energetic, which creates opposition, it's an either or, and we're saying, do I have it? Do I not have it? That is an energy entrapment that's going to lead to more and more and more depletion. And the regenerative fields begin when we begin to take the feminine and the masculine and reunify it into a trinity. And so we have Holy Mother, Holy Father, Holy Child. And so, that is to say, taking a very big topic and making it, shorter, that on this reunification journey, weaving them together, it can be very practical, like, what are my behaviors that are feminine and masculine? How do I spend my time? Am I all push and no soft, behavioral, right? Then there's psychology, the archetypes, how we relate to them. Then there's polarity in relationships, and we can look at it that way. And then there's the relationship with God and the path to reunification with, this holy sovereignty that you are. Because if source is reunified, and I think we would probably here all agree that, mother, father are back beside one another at source, at the Godhead, then our connection from source that builds our sovereignty is coming through that unity. Like, in some respects, we are the Holy Child, right? That is connected to these two. And so it can be anything from a behavior to your relationship with God and beyond, right?
Yes. So do you want to share more? Because we said, let's do like a longer activation, because I felt like that would be really nice for all of you participating.
Yes.
And then we actually also still have time for questions. But do you feel before we start, you want to add something to the conversation?
That's great. Yeah, I'll mention land connection, and because I think we're going to do an activation here that it is not passive. So if your soul says yes to participating in this, we are going to reclaim, I don't have all the information until we get in there, but we're going to reclaim these, some womb energetics. We're doing it, on behalf of ourselves and also on behalf of the collective, because right now live, there are 50 people on this call, right? So once we start to do this kind of thing collectively, it's a very powerful energetic. And I was shown that we're going to reclaim some of these holy womb, holy feminine energetics. And then the Christos is going to join us. So it's going to benefit you and your body to call back self-sovereignty, womb sovereignty, creation sovereignty. And then we are going to, welcome in the holy masculine, the holy Christos as it arises. And so as like, if I were doing this and channeling it and passing it to you, that would be one energetic. That would be one direction, right? To consider, and it's wonderful. And yet, when we are doing this as a collective and everyone's intention is gathered together, it's quite powerful because we're gathering from all over the globe. And so we're going to build a bit of a grid connection wherein everyone is sovereign, of course. And so, it's like, it's a little bit like rescuing, although I don't love that word in all contexts. Like we're bringing back some of this feminine energy that's been entrapped, like in a false grid. So in the earth, and I learned this in a very, very real way. I was called to live on a piece of land where there was a massive feminine and masculine sort of fight happening in the earth. And I should say the feminine was, needing to be reclaimed. And there was a dark force that was attempting to build something that was terrible for the environment. And so there was a fight, that was ensuing between these energetics. And it was just so phenomenal. I don't have time to go into it, but it awakened an entire transmission through me that I call Heartland. And it's something that I teach and talk about, but it is, recovering these regenerative life force energetics, for the feminine, for all humans, for the earth, and recovering that tri-wave energetic rather than the bi-wave. So when we're siphoned, when we're hooked in, or when she's entrapped, the Holy Mother's entrapped, then we have bi-wave energetics and control and the old, okay? And so actually fortifying our earth connection, we can you bolster, bringing back these regenerative energetics. So some of the things that I say today are going to be symbolic with a lot of energy behind them. Okay, so I'm going to give you some visuals and you're going to participate, and then you'll start to feel energetics at play and these regenerative energetics at play. And I've explained some now, so I won't really explain all of what's happening while it's happening, because it'll be participatory. I'll give you images to focus on, and we all go in and, imagine and create that way.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds really, really good. I love it. I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay, so I'm just taking some breaths and drinking water. So I invite you to come into a comfortable seat or standing position, but where your spine is erect. And then beginning to breathe this breath of life up and down the spine. From the space of the heart, the space of your heart is your center point. And so from the space of your heart, make a connection between your heart and the heart, the crystalline heart of Sophia Gaia. So you can visualize it like you're dropping a connection, following that pathway like the pull of a magnet, reaching the crystalline core of Gaia. You can put down roots, perhaps, and wrap around Gaia there energetically. beginning to attune to the group field. I may use light language, may make other clearing sounds. Who knows what will come out of my mouth as I do this, as we do this. And then traveling, bringing that crystalline energy back up and into your feet, into the core of your body. She's very generous today. It's very beautiful. This is a very strong energy with all of us doing this together. And then from your heart, calling in your source connection and traveling upwards from your heart, establishing a connection, finding it with that magnetic pull, the truth of who you are, the source connection, going the whole way to, let's say, to where unity happens. Trusting your instincts, trusting your ability to sense. Wonderful. And as we reach that space, there's this beautiful cascade of crystalline light from this Christos, this Godhead. And so bringing that white light down and into your body, you may be experiencing, like I'm seeing a lot of sparkles. So bringing it down and in and warmth and allowing that to mix with the energy of this crystalline heart from Sophia Gaia. And then imagining, we're going to do this quite quickly for the sake of time, imagining this auric field, this like egg around you, where your energy is your own. Cycling those two energetics through your field to begin to prepare your field vibrationally for bringing, we're simultaneously clearing, energies that we don't need and bringing in new. And so establishing your field, your sovereign field. Okay, and then when you feel that your field is set, I want you to imagine that you are standing on a piece of earth that means, maybe it means a lot to you, or maybe it's somewhere you've never actually been, but you're seeing it now in your mind's eye. And on this piece of earth, you're barefoot. And there is the richest, blackest soil you have ever seen. And so you put your toes into the soil, your feet into the soil. Arriving, deepening, and then you notice that your feet, you could kind of twist your ankles back and forth, and your feet begin to settle down in, similarly to how they do when you're standing by the ocean in the sand. They kind of sink down in, and so they sink down into this rich, rich soil. And if you're noticing resistance, you can wiggle your toes. You can just imagine what it feels like. And then taking a breath and breathing it down and out and into this earth connection. So we begin to realize that this is a very, very special soil, a very special and like the word that's coming is prosperous. It's a very prosperous earth that's very rich. And we notice that there are these gold threads that are actually in the soil, and they travel you know, similarly to what we know about, you know, fungus in the soil, that it spreads, and it spreads for miles and miles and miles. And so these gold threads begin to reach out and find the others that are doing this here and now or at any time in the future. So we begin to build a grid network, each person sovereign, but connecting into this black gold grid all around the earth, sensing and allowing. Relaxing into that connection. And then as I begin to talk about things that are inherently, you know, potentially feminine or masculine, I invite you to begin to feel both, or imagine both, and or imagine these as aspects of the divine, and that you're interacting with aspects of the divine, or both. Okay, any and all is great. And so beginning to feel connected to the soil, feeling into the womb space of the body, whether you have a physical womb or not, feeling into the womb space of the body. And as we do that, there is a beautiful recognition of the importance of this space. And this massive Holy Mother energy shows up. Very, very gently, this sacred remembering of the importance of the sovereignty of this space. And there's much gratitude from all of the guides and beings that are here. So tuning into that, the importance of this area in the body. From the womb center now, I'd like you to take 4 directional grounding cords. So they kind of attach to the womb center, and then you pull them out like tent stakes. Okay, so they come out at a 45-degree angle from you, and they also come into the dirt. So it could be front, back, side, and side, or north, south, east, and west. We're establishing ourselves, you know, as gridded in this network. I believe this is what Jacqueline Hobbs is also calling quadrality. We're intuiting it differently. Excuse me. And so we have our vertical axis, right? And our feet in the soil. And now we have these 4 directions going into the grid. And so what's interesting, what I was shown is that usually I see these as grounding cords. And today, in a moment, what these cords are actually going to do is to bring the womb energy that is in the earth, and we could say trapped in the earth. We're not fighting for this, right? We're claiming. And so if there's anything that, you know, has been lost that is yours, or you could see this as a lineage healing, you could see this as a collective healing. And so in a moment, what we're going to do, this is very powerful, I've never done this before, is calling all parts of that holy womb back from any false grid networks, back from any takers, back from, you know, all of the above, anywhere that it could be. And so we're calling it back and calling only the aspects of the High Holy Mother, only the aspects of the sovereign womb to restore inside of the wombs in the body. And so when you are ready, and these 4 grounding cords or 4 connection cords are in this black gold grid as well, and they may kind of, we're going to trust their intelligence to go where is necessary, and in a sovereign way, in the high holy protection of the unity guardians, the guardians that protect unity and life itself. we now begin to call back these aspects of the sacred feminine, the high holy mother, and the womb energy back to the bodies, back to the womb, this micro, of the macro, the womb that is in you. Gia sandya shohuanya bia sandya kiyenya. Gia sakoanya he shanju shohuanya bienya. Gianya gia so ye shanju shonya bianya kaye sanya ikinya. Gianya kahoyanya kaye sankai. Gia shanchuanya bianya santatienya. Gonya ye shanchuanya bianya kiyenya. Gianya kaye sa. Claiming sovereignty of the feminine, claiming sovereignty of the holy womb, of the great mother. Yes, calling it back through you for the benefit of all. Gyambo hoyashan jishua nya sambo anya sapua nya sha gyanya bahaya kiki anya ha. And so you are in the earth and you are this pillar. You are a pillar, you're a body, and you are a conduit of energy. I'd like to welcome everyone to open the crown chakra and open to the high holy masculine's gift is the word gift, and gentle penetration into, it's a penetration of light. It's like a penetration, like a gentle rain of light into the field where you're standing, into your body, into this earth. Gakaya san kaya shohuanya and yasapaya shanja. And here we have this reunification of the Holy Mother and Holy Father in right relationship, free of inversion, beginning to happen. And you can feel this in your body in any way. It might swirl up and down, and you can just enjoy the upward energy and the downward energy at the same time. Gyambya, opening to receive this restored masculine, not a masculine that anyone needs to be afraid of, but the high and holy Christos, the Holy Father in its original form. Gyamba, the most divine masculine. Gyandya shanchuanya, gyambipianya. So if you are a person that identifies as a woman, just feel for a moment how it feels to receive that. And then if you are a male identifying person, just feel how it feels to identify with this, to know this, to relate to this level of masculine energetic. And it's really still pouring into the field like rain. And it's covering now, like covering the whole earth. So the way that I'm seeing it is that we're all in this grid network and doing this wonderful grid work here together. And then there's this beautiful light and protection and this essence of this high holy masculine that is raining down from like the utmost high, right? And coming down to meet and to cover. Okay. And then in the interest of time, I invite you to imagine in whatever way you see it, that there are pillars of light that begin to form all over the grid. And this is this unified frequency in this vertical position, and it helps to stabilize the grid. This is incredible work, you all. Thank you so much. What a service that this is. And so calling in these pillars of light in the grid and intuitively seeing them in the grid, you may feel as though you become one of these pillars, or it may be beside you, or you may begin now to see the whole grid. And so these are going to hold in place that this Holy Mother continue to reclaim, recover, and that she never be put into these entrapments again. So noticing the macro and the micro, so you can practice this in your own life and continually be recalling your energy back to yourself. Very good. So coming into a recognition of whatever unified frequency you are feeling in this now moment, calling, we're going to begin to close this. So thanking all of the supports in this deep, rich earth, this high holy Christos, and you for showing up here today, and your womb and your heart. And welcoming the regenerative energetics. Allow this to be an activation in the regenerative energetics, and may it serve your life. And so you can call those 4 grounding cords, not sure what to call them, you can call them back to your body. And then taking a step with your feet up and out of the soil. Breathing in this truth of who you are, breathing in everything that's been reclaimed, trusting the unfoldment. Welcoming the true reunification of Holy Mother and Holy Father, and welcoming it to happen through you. And so from here, calling all parts of yourself back to yourself, calling yourself back to this space, coming back to your chair, this moment, wiggling your fingers, your toes, beginning to blink the eyes, looking around the room, orienting.
That was beautiful. I'm very curious what others experience, so please share. Do you know, a lot of things, the energy was so beautiful, like clear, gentle, easy, like colorful, like a lot of those things. I felt it was so easy to kind of, and then you said if you identify with being a woman, and I was like, I'm identifying with being a man. That is something I'm like, I didn't, and so I was kind of struck. I'm like, I don't really, and then I'm like, what is this? I thought that was the weirdest thing ever.
Very cool, something to be with.
I'm like, and then it was like soul things also coming, returning. And so there was this whole thing happening. And in that moment, it was important for me. I love that you said that, because I would always have said like woman, like that's what I feel, you know, I'm in a man-woman relationship. So that's really, as a human, I identify with. And now there was clearly something what was restructuring on another level, which I thought was fascinating.
Right. I mean, on the biggest of levels, we're both. Right?
Yeah.
And that's,
but it wasn't like it was clearly not a personality thing going on. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah.
Right. And just quickly, I want to get to these comments in the chat. This is beautiful. But, you know, as we are, if we identify, this works in any, you know, direction, but if we're reintegrating, I'll just use the example of, if you are a woman and you have, you know, a distorted relationship with the masculine, which we all do because patriarchy, then, you know, you can like just imagine being in relationship with this high holy masculine in different forms. Like, you know, you just imagine it. You just, like the other day I was in the woods, and there's the spot that I go to where the sun shines in, and I hear from the Holy Father, and it said to me, Christos as brother, Christos as son, Christos as father, Christos as lover. Like, it just gave me that. And it was like, practice, Sarah, practice being and relating to the Holy Christos, the High Holy Masculine, as each of those things. And then when you do that as a woman, you can feel your body and your essence, responding in exactly the way that is right for you at the time. Beautiful.
Can you see the comments?
Yes, it was like stepping into home. That's so beautiful, Tanya. I saw a lot of things. Usually I don't see that much. That was amazing. Yay. Yeah, sometimes I'm just feeling and trusting that feeling as a woman, right? And then sometimes I see things. Like last night, I was very surprised to see these big white light pillars throughout the grid, at the end of our meditation today. And I was like, that's clear, right? But sometimes I just feel and sense and intuit.
Yeah, it was very visible. That's what I also,
Tears of joy. So beautiful. Yes.
So many different experience. Isn't that beautiful, right? And it's all one. Yeah.
Oh, this is very powerful. This is fascinating. I have completely changed my point of view about the womb. Instead of it being a place of vulnerability, I now see it as a place of power and ultimately sacred power as it was divinely intended. Thank you. That truly brings tears to my eyes. It's so powerful. And so stay tuned to the Sacred Remembering podcast, because we're airing this whole Sovereign Womb Roundtable very soon. But, it's very true that we have been conditioned, and in fact, society has been set up so that women continue to give away access to womb, access to the feminine. And so when we see it as something of vulnerability, we might want the masculine to show up and, take care of us, or prove to us that men are safe, or, all these kinds of distortions that we're healing. And so as we come back into this power, then we're going to be naturally much more discerning about what we are giving our energy to, which is so beautiful. I'm so happy for that.
So because we have a couple of minutes left, so I would love for you to first speak into the offer you have for the audience.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. So I saw that Johanna had put the link to my sessions page. Thank you so much. And I thought that what I would offer is $55 off your first session with me, that you can use the code Remembering Now at checkout. And so that's the link there. And then once you've made your way to my website, I also thought this morning that I'm very happy to give 10% off of my upcoming Women's Sacred Truth Mastermind and Mystery School. And so we're owning the truth of who we are together, but we are going to go into these sovereign energetics as well. So it's both mastermind and mystery school. And so that begins in October. If you're interested in that, I'm happy to give participants here 10% off of that. So thank you. Thanks for
very nice. Thank you so much. And so for the people listening to the replay, the link will be in our email. And if you can't find it, just reply to the email and we will make sure that you get the right link.
Great. My website is sarahpoet.com. It's very easy to remember because that's my name. And then you'll find everything there, including the podcast and many other resources for this path. So,
So do you feel you want to add something? Because I can ask questions, but we are limited in time. So I would love to ask you, is there anything you feel you want to add to the conversation?
I feel gratitude in this moment. I feel relatively complete in what I've shared. Thank you so much for having me and for letting just the intuition come through, because it was like a last minute change up on the original exact topic. Wow. So it was very fun to flow with this, and very timely. And I can't even stress enough, like the excitement, the level of grid work that we just did, in just 15 minutes as a group is incredibly helpful to the planet and all of us. It's like everything's amplified when we do this together. This is why I hold women's communities, right? Because like the collective consciousness doing these things together is, it's like game over for these, bully frequencies.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting and having me on, and thank you for what you're doing. It was very inspiring.
Thank you. You are so welcome. And it was such an honor that you were here. I loved bringing in your energy, like something new, something, again, very exciting. So thank you so much for being so open, like literally sharing like the thing, not kind of hiding, like, but really opening up. So that's really nice for everyone. But it's so nice. Honestly, it is nice.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing it that way,
Yes.
because there are plenty that would prefer not to hear that the darkness exists.
Yeah.
And we have to acknowledge this so that we can get actually sovereign and actually free, you know, and it's totally possible to get actually sovereign and actually free and actually powerful, you know, when we claim it. But I really believe so strongly that women we need to know what has been really going on, and that we're not foolish, like we're not crazy for being tired, or we're not crazy for, like, you know, thinking like, what the heck else could there possibly be? Yeah, and now there's kind of more that's coming, but you know, I have a lot of love and compassion, of course, for the men as well, and would just really encourage the exploration into what their relationship is as a male identifying person with the holy womb and with the holiness of the Holy Mother. Because when a man is activated in that, he's going to step into more of his embodiment of the sacred masculine, right? As the, you know, provisional protector, because the distortion that's existing in men is, I want access to the womb. And that's the program and the distortion that's in men that continues, you know, the siphoning energetic. And so when men are in the integrity in holding, like, I am a channel of the holy masculine, I am a channel of this holy Christos, when they erect their sacred architecture and stand in that and become a channel and a conduit for that, you know, it's like a whole new game for masculine men on the planet. So you become the protector, the advocate, the, you know, and the holy consciousness that seeds the holy womb, right? Very exciting.
So beautiful. Thank you for this last bit. So again, thank you so much. Johanna, can you make sure that everyone can unmute so we can say goodbye? I will see you in 30 minutes. And then let's dive into another session. Again, Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you, sweetie. Bye bye.